In the vast silence of space, a single cry for help echoed across the stars. When the Deathworlders heard the signal, they didn't hesitate. They didn't ask why. They simply answered with everything they had. This is the story of unity, courage, and the unstoppable heart of humanity. In a small, quiet space station far from Earth, a young woman named Mira sat alone in front of a glowing screen. She worked at Outpost Eco 7, a deep space listening station. It was her job to watch for any unusual signals in space. Most days were quiet. She often missed home. Mira had been away from Earth for almost 2 years. Her best friend Noah had stayed behind. They used to talk every day. But now, the distance between them felt heavy. Their messages grew fewer. Sometimes she wondered if he even thought of her anymore. One evening, Mira was watching the stars outside when her screen blinked. Incoming signal unrecognized Farakiwiansi Washi. Saturday up straight. It wasn't from Earth or any known station. The signal was weak, filled with static, but she could make out parts of a message. A shaky voice said, "Help us, please. We are not warriors. They're coming." Mira's heart beat faster. She played the message again and again, trying to clean up the sound. The voice didn't sound human. It was higher, softer. It was alien. She took a deep breath and pressed the emergency alert button. A red light blinked as the message was sent to Earth Command. Mira looked at the screen, the signal still repeating. These beings were scared. They needed help. But would anyone come? She had studied alien history. Many species ignored each other. They only acted when something helped them directly. But Mira knew what humans were. They were from Earth, a death world, as other species called it. A planet full of storms, wild animals, and danger. But growing up in such a place had shaped humanity. It made them strong, yes, but also kind. She remembered her last talk with Noah. He had said, "No matter how far apart we are, we'll always answer each other's call." She whispered now, "Would you answer mine, Noah?" Back on Earth, the emergency council gathered. The signal Mira found was shared across every nation and colony. The voice was clear now. The aliens were called the Solari, peaceful, gentle. Their planet had been attacked by a cold, silent enemy, machines with no face, no heart. Some leaders hesitated. "We don't know them," they said. "We're not part of their war." But others stood up, people from mining towns, farming ships, and floating cities. They called for help. We heard them. That makes it our problem. Just like that, the decision was made. Mira received a reply from Earth the next day. "Fleet assembly in progress. Stay online. You were the first to hear them. You will be our voice at first contact." Mira's eyes filled with tears. She had never felt more proud or more nervous. She was just a listener, just a lonely girl who missed her best friend. Now she was the bridge between worlds. Later that week, as the first ships began to leave Earth, Mira got a message. From Noah's subject. "Still here? Hey Mira, I saw the news. The signal you found, it's everywhere. I'm proud of you. I miss you. I know we've grown quiet, but I never stopped thinking of you. You always cared more than anyone. I signed up to join the fleet. I'll be out there soon. Maybe we'll see each other in the stars." Mira smiled, wiping her eyes. For the first time in months, she felt close to him again. As the Deathworlder fleet prepared to fly toward the Solari system, Mira watched from the station window. Hundreds of ships, small and large, fast and slow, rose from Earth, and the colonies like a wave of light. They didn't go to conquer. They didn't go to fight for riches. They went because someone cried out in the dark. And humans, they couldn't ignore that. Asterisk, the city buzzed with excitement. Ships were rising into the sky like silver birds ready to travel to the stars. People on the streets looked up, watching with wide eyes. This was no war. It was something greater. It was a promise. Noah stood at the edge of the spaceport, holding his small travel bag. His name had just been added to the crew list of the ship Celestial Echo. It was one of the hundreds of ships preparing to fly toward the unknown, Solari system. But Noah wasn't thinking about the aliens, wasn't thinking about the machines. He was thinking about Mira, She had been his best friend since childhood. They'd played together, learned together, even dreamed of the stars together. Then one day she left to work on a listening station far away. At first, they sent long messages, talked late into the night. But slowly, the messages grew shorter. Sometimes days passed without a reply, and now she was famous. The girl who heard the first cry for help. The one who stayed calm and brave. He was proud of her, but also somehow farther from her than ever. The training was quick. There was no time to waste. People from every background were joining the mission. Engineers, doctors, artists, scientists, and even farmers. Everyone wanted to help. Noah was assigned as a communications technician. It wasn't glamorous, but he didn't care. Just wanted to go. Maybe out there among the stars, he would find her again. On the ship, he met Captain Leanne, an older woman with kind eyes and a strong voice. She had fought in old space storms and helped build peace on the moon colonies. But she didn't speak like a soldier. She spoke like a teacher. "We are not going to fight," she told the crew. "We are going to protect. We are going to heal. We are going because no one else would." Everyone listened in silence. Humans are from a hard world, but we don't harden our hearts. That is our strength. That is what makes us different. Noah felt something warm in his chest. Hope days passed quickly on the ship. Noah worked with others to set up emergency comms for the Solari. They didn't know if the aliens could understand them yet, but they were building a system that could translate feelings, tone, rhythm, and intent. One night, while staring at the stars from a small window, Noah recorded a personal message. "Hi, Mira. I don't know if this will reach you. I don't even know what I'd say if it does, I guess. I just miss you. I miss how we used to talk about everything. I don't want to lose that, even if you're busy, even if you're famous now. I still remember the girl who stayed up late just to hear the stars hum." He paused. "I'm on my way. Maybe not just to help the Solari, be to find you again, too." He pressed send. Meanwhile, on Outpost Eco 7, Mira sat in her small room. Her window looked out into space, but she wasn't looking at the stars. She was holding a picture, her and Noah, younger, standing in a field under Earth's blue sky. Her tablet buzzed. She opened it. A message from the fleet. From Celestial Echo. From Noah. Her hands shook a little as she played the message. His voice was soft, unsure, but honest. And it made her feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. Closeness. Back. On the ship, Noah didn't know if she'd ever hear it. But something changed after he sent it. He felt lighter, less alone. Maybe hope wasn't about knowing. Maybe it was just about trying. He worked harder the next day, smiling more, laughing with the crew. One of the Solari experts, a quiet man named Dr. Ahan, noticed, "You seem different today." Noah nodded. "I remembered someone important. Doctor." Ahan smiled. Sometimes the heart needs to fly before the mind catches up. As the fleet got closer to the Solari system, Noah received a reply. From Mira. Subject: "I heard you, Noah. I got your message. It made me cry. Not because I was sad, but because I remembered everything too. The stars feel less cold now. Be waiting. Maybe we can look at the galaxy together this time." Myra. Noah stared at the words. Simple message, yet it felt like a bridge across space. Not everything had to be spoken. Sometimes just reaching out was enough. Mira stood on the bridge of a small command ship called Aurora's Grace. It had arrived just ahead of the main fleet, meant to prepare for first contact with the Solari. Through the wide glass window, she saw a pale blue planet. Looked peaceful, but she knew the truth. Below that quiet sky, the Solari were scared. Their cities were damaged. Their people had been hiding. They had called for help, and humanity had come. Still, Myra felt something missing. Her thoughts kept drifting back to Noah. His message had given her comfort. But now that they were both out here, she didn't know what to say. She had replied yes, but only a few words. What else could she say? "I miss you." "Ingmam. Sorry we drifted apart. Sometimes silence is easier than saying what's truly in the heart." The ship landed gently on a wide field. Solari envoys stood waiting, their tall, thin forms glowing faintly under the morning sun. Their skin shimmered like water, and their large eyes held a mix of fear and hope. Mira stepped out with the human team. She walked slowly, her hands open to show peace. One of the Solari stepped forward and bowed slightly. Then, in soft musical English, he spoke. "You heard our cry," Mira nodded. "Yes, and we came." There was a long pause. Then the Solari said, "You are not like the others." Inside the Solari sanctuary, the two sides spoke carefully, like people unsure of each other's steps. Mira helped translate feelings more than words, tone, expressions, pauses. The Solari had no word for war. Their kind had never fought. When the machines came, they didn't know how to resist, only run. The Solari leader, a female called Aranel, touched Mira's hand gently. "You come from a death world," Aranel said. "Why would you help us?" Mira answered slowly, "Because your voice reached us. In humans, we don't ignore cries for help, even from far away." Aranel tilted her head. "That is rare among stars." Mira smiled, though her heart felt. Heavy helping strangers was easy, but healing distance with someone you love, that was harder. A few days later, the full human fleet arrived. One by one, ships descended with supplies, technology, and people ready to help. It was a quiet celebration. No flags, no songs, just action. It's care. Noah's ship landed near Mira's. He had been thinking about her the whole journey. Every star they passed made him wonder, was she thinking about him too? Would she even want to see him? But now he was here, close again. So why did it feel just as far? Mira saw Noah from a distance the first day he arrived. He looked older, stronger somehow. But when she saw him turn and smile at someone on his team, she remembered the boy who had helped her plant a tree in the school garden, who used to laugh when she fell asleep during stargazing. She wanted to run to him, but her feet stayed still. She didn't know what to say, not yet. The days were filled. With work, Noah helped set up emergency communication towers to connect Solari cities. Mira helped install water filters and food systems. They were both busy and still avoiding the thing they both wanted most, to talk. One afternoon, Noah was helping a group of Solari children learn how to use small handheld light devices. The kids giggled when the lights floated and changed colors. Mira watched from nearby, unseen. One of the Solari teachers whispered, "Your people are kind." Mira nodded. "Sometimes we just forget to show it to the ones who matter most." She walked away before she could change her mind. That evening, Noah sat alone near the landing field, watching the two moons rise. He heard footsteps and turned. Mira was there. "I was starting to think I imagined your reply," he said gently. She smiled. "I wasn't sure what to say." "You don't have to say anything," he said. "Just don't disappear again." Mira sat beside him. "I felt like I did. Disappear, I mean. Out here listening to stars, it was like I was floating. Then I heard that signal, and everything changed. I felt needed, but also alone." Noah nodded. "I joined because of that signal, but also because of you." They sat quietly for a moment, watching the sky. Then Mira reached out and held his hand. "I'm still here, Noah. I don't want to drift apart again." "We won't," he said. "Not if we both keep trying." Asterisk. The days on the Solari homeworld passed quickly.
Oh.
Repairs were happening all over.
Oh.
The cities, once broken and silent, were beginning to glow again with soft lights. Human engineers, scientists and volunteers worked side by side with the Solari, showing them new ways to build and protect their homes. But while the world outside grew stronger, Mira still felt unsure inside. She saw Noah every day. They were often in the same meetings, working on the same aid plans, helping the same people. They'd even shared meals sometimes, quiet ones, filled with polite smiles and small talk. It was good, but it wasn't what it used to be before they had laughed together, dreamed together. Now it was like walking beside a shadow. The closeness was gone, even though they were standing right next to each other. Noah felt it too. He respected Mira deeply. She had become someone important out here, a voice of peace, a trusted leader, a symbol of human kindness. But to him, she was still the girl who once stayed up late to watch meteor showers with him. He missed that girl. He wanted to tell her. But every time he tried, he stopped himself. Maybe she didn't miss him the same way. Maybe the galaxy had changed her, more than he could follow. So instead, he worked harder. He helped where he could. He taught Sullery children how to use protective field generators and solar tablets. He showed their teachers how to read simple human diagrams. He smiled when they laughed, and cried when they sang their songs of thanks. But at night, when the work was done, he sat under the Solari sky, thinking of Earth. And Mira, one day, a storm swept across a nearby Solari town. It knocked out power and scared the people. Some of the young Solari had never known storms there. Planet's weather had always been gentle. But now, the machines had damaged the climate. Mira and Noah were sent together to help. They flew in a small shuttle, bouncing slightly through the rough winds. The town below looked dark and wet. Some buildings had collapsed. People were gathered. In the temple, cold and afraid, Mira handed out blankets. Noah started setting up emergency lights. The storm still howled outside, but slowly, fear inside the temple faded. Then something happened that no one expected. A small Solari boy tugged on Noah's sleeve. "Are you in the listener, girl?" "Family." Noah looked over at Mira. Was kneeling beside a group of elders, listening carefully. He smiled gently. "We used to be close. Why not now?" the boy asked. Noah paused. "Sometimes when people move far away, it becomes hard to talk." The boy looked confused. "But you are here now. Just talk." Noah laughed softly. "You make it sound so easy." "It is," the boy said, and ran off to help his parents. Later that evening, the storm passed. The stars peeked through the clouds. Mira sat near a broken fountain, drying her boots. Noah walked over and sat beside her, quiet for a moment. "The boy asked if we were family," he said. She looked at him, surprised. "What did you say?" "I said we used to be close." She nodded slowly. "We were." "I want to be again," Noah said. "Not just friends on the same mission. I want to know how you're really doing, what you're really thinking." Before, Mira looked down at her hands. "It's hard, Noah. After I left Earth, I didn't know how to keep in touch. And the longer I waited, the harder it became." He nodded. "Me too." She looked up at him, her eyes soft. "But maybe we could start again?" Noah smiled. "I'd like that." They sat there in the quiet, side by side. Around them, Solari voices sang softly in the temple. The storm was gone, and a new kind of warmth had settled in. Back at the capital, Mira and Noah began working more closely. They brought not just tools and technology, but stories. They told the Solari about Earth, its forests, its oceans, its mountains and moons. They taught them about how humans make art when they feel pain, and music when they feel alone. They didn't bring fear or control. They brought understanding. That was the human way. One Solari elder said, "You are strange. From a world full of danger, yet you bring peace." Mira answered, "We come from hardship. That's why we choose to build, not break." The Solari nodded. "You teach us more than survival. You teach us how to stay connected." The Solari world was healing. Little by little, the skies were clearer now. The wind felt gentler. In the city's soft lights shone at night again. The Deathworlder fleet had helped fix buildings, restart energy grids, and protect people. But still, far above the planet, in the cold dark of orbit, something dangerous waited. The machines that had attacked the Solari weren't gone. They had pulled back to space, watching silently. No one knew when they would return, only that they would so. Earth's fleet stayed ready. The humans would not leave until they knew the Solari were safe. Noah sat alone in the control center of Celestial Echo. He stared at a glowing screen filled with ship positions and orbit paths. But his mind was far away. He was thinking about Mira. Even after the storm mission, even after their talk, things weren't the same. Yes, they were closer now. They laughed more, worked together more. But deep down, he still felt a space between them. A quiet gap, like two hands reaching across. A table but not quite touching. He missed her. Not just her smile or her voice, he missed knowing her. He wanted to fix it. But how? At that moment, an alert blinked on his screen. Unusual movement detected. Enemy drones approaching orbit. Noah's heart jumped. He quickly sent the alert to the command team. Within minutes, the ships of the fleet were powering up. Shields rose. Communication lines opened. No one panicked, but the air grew tense. The machines were coming again. This time they weren't attacking cities. They were heading toward the orbital communication rings the humans had built to help the Celery stay connected. It was strange. The drones weren't trying to destroy everything, just the connections. On the ground, Mira received the message. She looked up at the sky, then at the Solari children gathered in the learning hall. They were holding small light readers gifts from Noah's team. The children had started drawing again, painting again. They had begun to dream again. And now, the machines wanted to take away their voices. Their stories. She couldn't let that happen. Back on Celestial Echo, Noah suited up. He was not a fighter, but he could help defend the relay towers. His team had trained for situations like this not to destroy, but to protect. When he entered the shuttle, he found Myra already inside. She looked at him with quiet determination. If they're going after the signal relays, I'm going to. He nodded. We built those together. There was silence for a moment. Then Noah said softly, I'm glad you're here. Mira gave a small smile. Me too. The shuttle rose into the sky. Around them, other small ships flew toward the relay stations, tall towers floating high above the planet, connected by light. When they reached their relay, it was already under attack. Small black drones swarmed around the tower, trying to cut the signal lines. Noah guided the shuttle close. Mira helped him lock the power controls. They didn't fire weapons. Instead, they activated signal reflectors and shield fields. It was a defense based on thinking, not fighting. They redirected energy, confused the enemy, protected the link. Other teams did the same, cross-orbit. The Deathworlders stood between silence and song, between destruction and connection. They didn't need to win with power. They needed to hold the line, and they did. Hours later, the machines pulled back again, silent as ever. The relays remained standing. The Solari world stayed connected. Their voices, their dreams, their music, still alive. Noah and Myra floated. In orbit, inside the shuttle, watching the stars, the Earth was just a small now, far behind them. But for the first time, Myra didn't feel far from home. You know, she said softly. This was the first time I wasn't scared up there. Noah looked at her. Why? Because I wasn't alone. He smiled. Neither was I. She paused, then asked, Do you ever wonder if we can really get back what we lost? Noah thought for a moment. I don't think we get it back. I think we build something new from where we are now. Mira looked out at the stars. Like that, back on the planet, the Solari sang again. Their towers shone brighter. The connection had been tested, and it held. A Solari child said to Mira, We watched the sky. We saw you stand for us. Mira smiled. That's what humans do.
Asterisks.
The stars above the Solari world looked different now. Not because they had changed, but because the people looking at them had. The Solari had gone from being silent and scared to hopeful and healing. Their cities were rising again. Their children were learning again, and their message was spreading. At the heart of it all was the human. Communication, relay a large network in space that reached far beyond the planet. It could now send messages to nearby systems, the humans. And Solari had decided together to use it. Not for war, not for power, but to send a simple message. We heard your cry. You are not alone. Noah sat at a wide circular table in the new Solari assembly hall. He looked tired but calm. Across from him sat leaders from both species, human fleet officers, Solari elders, and volunteers from many backgrounds. They were preparing the first official broadcast to call for peace, support, and unity. Myra stood nearby, watching him speak. His voice was steady. His words were warm, but even now, even after all they had shared, she felt the same quiet distance between them. He was here, right in front of her. And yet sometimes she still didn't know what to say. Later, as the room cleared, Mira approached. "Noah, you did well," she said. He smiled. "Thanks. I just spoke from the heart." She nodded. "You always do." There was a pause. He looked at her carefully. "Mira, can I ask something? Are we okay?" Her eyes dropped to the floor. I want us to be." "Me too," he said. "I still feel close to you, but I also feel like there's a wall between us." She nodded slowly. "I think I built that wall, without meaning to." "You don't have to explain, Noah." Said, "No, I do," she replied. "When I left Earth, I thought it was just for a job, but out here I became someone else. Stronger, maybe, but also more guarded. I didn't know how to be both the old Mira and the new one." Noah looked at her gently. "You don't have to be both. You just have to be you. And I still care about whoever that is." She smiled, small but real. "Then maybe we start again." He nodded. "I'd like that." That night they stood outside together, beneath the twin moons. Mira turned to him. "The broadcast goes out tomorrow. Do you think anyone will answer?" Noah looked up at the stars. "Think someone's always listening, even if they're afraid to reply." She understood what he meant. She had been that person too, listening, but silent. Now it was her turn to speak. The next day the message was ready. Myra stood at the center of the relay hall. Cameras recorded her from all angles, and the words she spoke would travel across star systems. She had written the message herself. With help from Solari poets and human translators, she took a deep breath and began. "To anyone out there who feels forgotten, to those hiding in silence or fear, we are the Deathworlders, humans from a world of storms and struggle. But we are more than that. We are builders, we are listeners, we are protectors. When we heard the cry of the Solari, we came, not because we knew them, not because we were asked to, but because we could not turn away. We know what it's like to feel alone. So if you're out there, send your signal. Whisper your truth. We are listening, and we will come." There was silence as the message finished. Then the lights on the relay, it blinked green. The signal was away. A few days passed. No one answered. Some people felt disappointed. The others stayed hopeful. But Mira couldn't help feeling the distance again. Like when she had first joined the listening station, waiting, hoping, wondering if anyone would hear Noah. Found her one morning sitting quietly near a lake. He sat down beside her. "You okay?" She nodded, just thinking. Wondering if it mattered. "It did," he said, "even if no one answers. You gave them a light in the dark." She looked at him. "You've always believed in people." He smiled. "Only because I believe in you." She didn't answer with words, just reached over and took his hand. And in that small gesture, something opened between them. The wall began to fall. That evening. The relay blinked again. Incoming signal unknown. Orijah and Mira and Noah raced to the command deck. The signal was weak, full of static. But within it, they heard a trembling voice. "We heard you. We thought we were alone. We need help." Everyone in the room froze. Noah turned to Mira. She smiled. It worked. The stars looked brighter now. Maybe they were the same stars, but for Myra, they no longer felt cold or far away. She stood on a small platform overlooking the Solari capital. The soft light of early morning touched the edges of tall glass towers. The air smelled clean. New. Beside her, Noah leaned against the railing, quiet. Neither of them spoke yet. But the silence between them had changed. It wasn't heavy or unsure anymore. It was peaceful. Something had shifted, not just in the galaxy, but in their hearts. A week had passed since the unknown signal had arrived, a message from another species scared. Hiding, unsure who to trust, had found its way to them through the stars. Humanity in the Celery had heard it. Together now, teams were preparing to reach them, just as they had done before. But this time, they weren't alone. Ships from 2 other worlds, peaceful ones, who had seen the message and chosen to answer, had begun sending support. The galaxy was changing. It had started with one voice, one call for help, one listener, and now it was becoming something bigger. Mira still thought about distance, not the kind between stars, but the kind between people. She had spent so long feeling far from Noah, even while he stood right beside her. And for a long time, she hadn't known how to close that gap. Now, standing next to him, she realized the truth. It had never been about saying the perfect thing. It had been about choosing. It's choosing to stay close, to try, even when it was hard. To care even when it hurt. That was what humans did. That was what he had done every time she pulled away. That afternoon, a celebration was held in the city square. Not a parade. Not a speech. Just people, humans and Solari, planting a tree together. One tree for every world that had answered. The call Myra and Noah helped dig the hole for the first one. The soil was soft and dark. The roots were strong. As they worked side by side, their hands brushed. Mira looked up at him. "I never thanked you," she said. "For what?" Noah asked. "For waiting," she said. "For always being there. Even when I didn't know how to be close." He smiled. "You were always close to me, Mira. Even when it felt like you weren't." She blinked away the tears and laughed softly. "Still the same old Noah. Still the same Myra," he said. But both of them knew that wasn't fully true. They had changed, grown together. Later that day, Mira was invited to speak to the new council, humans, Solari, and others who had joined. They wanted to talk about the future. She stepped forward with quiet confidence. "We are not here to lead others," she said. "We are here to listen, to protect, to stand when others fall. That is what it means to be from a death world. To conquer, but to care fiercely." The hall was quiet. Then one of the alien delegates stood and said, "Your words carry warmth and truth. Let us follow that path together." Just like that, something new was born. Not an empire, not a military force, but a union based on trust, peace, and courage. That evening, Mira and Noah walked through the garden where the trees had been planted. The wind was soft. The stars shone quietly above. "You ever wonder how far we've come?" she asked. "All the time," Noah replied. "It started with a broken message. And now we're planting peace." Mira stopped walking. She turned to face him. "I don't want to drift apart again." Noah looked at her, eyes steady. "We won't. I mean it," she said. "Even if I take another job far away. But even if you go to the next mission, I want us to stay close. However we can." "We will," Noah said, "because now we both know how to try." She smiled, full and bright. "Let's make that our future." And they did.